I want to first talk about the family system then. It's not just you alone. You don't understand you unless you understand the structure and what went on in your own family of origin. The family of origin is the family where you were a child. Your nuclear family is the family where you're mom and dad. All right? So we refer to the nuclear family and the family of origin. The family of origin sets the pace and sets the pattern and sets the values that the nuclear family unconsciously accepts. That's what's so insidious about this. When you're 3 and 4 and 5, we were running these parent tapes. Where did you learn how to be a parent? Who taught you for 18 or 20 years how to be a parent? Your parent, and you saw it over and over. And when you left home, you said, I will never, ever treat my kids like that. Or you said, my folks were perfect, and I'm going to do it just like they did. Generally, you parent just like you were parented, or you're totally react, you hated it, and you're doing the opposite. And I don't think either way is really healthy. What you need to do is understand correct parenting principles. Okay, so a family system then is a system of interacting parts, and there's subsystems in that system. Like there's a parental dyad, right? The marriage coupling, the couple in the marriage. That's a subsystem within the family system. And they kind of preside over the children, which is another subsystem. In my family, we had another subsystem. That was the men against the girls. And we'd go hunting and kill things, okay? And we'd go fishing, and we'd do those things. And Mama and the girl had a subsystem. And then we had the alcoholic system and the non-alcoholic system at war. Okay, let's look at the family ego mass. And I'm going to go over some rituals and myths and rules that I had in my family. Not because you need to know about me, but because you need to relate to your own stuff. All right? So we have the family system. We have the family ego mass. Now, the family ego mass is an undifferentiated, an inseparable glob of ideas and thoughts and beliefs and fears and prejudices and emotions and intellectualism that the family holds as sacred. That this is who we are, this is how we feel, this is what we believe, this is our values, etc., etc. Now, the problem in dysfunction comes here. That the parents project this glomerate onto the children. And the children, without any censoring, without any kind of protection at all, just introject. And that's called introjection. They just accept, swallow, hook, line, and sinker everything mom and dad said. How many 2-year-olds have you heard say, Father, pardon me, but I think that existentially you're kind of off base here. How many 2-year-old kids will say, Dad, I challenge the way you think? How many 8-years are going to say, Mother and Father have a dysfunctional relationship? And that's why all this garbage is spilling over on us, and that's why I'm picking up all this anxiety. How many kids say that? Nobody does. I didn't know that. I was in what we call the post-hypnotic trance until I was 55 years old. I wouldn't listen to a thing. All right, so we have this ego mass, which is a conglomerate, a big chunk of all the family's belief systems, their rules, their fears. And then the parents tell the kids what to believe and what not to believe and what is right and what is wrong and what people are good and what people are bad. You see how the children are picking up all this garbage? No defenses, no boundaries, no nothing. Just eating it all up. They absorb it. And the problem is like 93% of it is never spoken. It's just all done with assumptions and behavior in the home. Now start thinking of your own families as I talk here. How often did you really challenge anybody? Because guess what? If you challenged the system, the sacred system, you were disloyal. You were a bad child. You had no right to challenge us. Who do you think you are telling us anything? You don't know anything. And the people are made to feel, the children are made to feel, they don't have any right to their feelings. So that they don't own their own feelings. And guess what they do? They, you, and me, we do not develop into undifferentiated people. We don't develop into people who have our own standards, our own beliefs, our own feelings. We have to check into the system and find out, what do we believe? And somebody says something, and we look at Dad, and he's laughing, so we laugh too, because this is really funny. And then next time we hear something, we laugh, and he's mad, so we don't laugh at that. Shut up, we don't laugh at that. That's stupid. How dare you have any thought? How dare you have any feeling? Now we have what we call the 5 freedoms. We need to communicate to our children our values. And this is what we believe. And children, you're going to have to evaluate and process this. Sooner or later, everybody that lives in a home has to question the political values, has to question the social values, has to question the religious values of that home. And so you present this, and by modeling, you present a case. You present how happy this makes you, or how good this is, or whatever it is. But the children have a right to see and hear what they see and hear, not what you tell them to see and to hear. I was told what was funny. I was told what was right and what was wrong. Now, some of that is great, but it went way too far beyond this. So the 5 freedoms are the freedoms to see and to hear and to be yourself. And I was not giving permission for my sons and my daughters to be anything but what I thought they should be. You see, maybe I have a child that wants to be an artist. Well, an artist in our home was nothing, okay, because you didn't make any money, or you didn't make any widgets, or you didn't do anything. So we were not made to feel that we could be ourselves. And we were always having to check in with the system. You see, a little child starts to doubt their own feelings pretty soon. And they have to check in with the system to see how they feel and what they believe and what they think. To think what they want to think what they think, and to want what they want to want. You don't need that. You don't need that. That's enough play. We've had enough fun today. You know, let's go home. That's enough. It's all over. Constantly being corrected, constantly being told what we think, how we feel, what's right to think and what's wrong to think. What's right to feel and what's wrong to feel. The system will not allow you to think and believe and be and want and value what you as a person want. Now, this is called undifferentiated, okay? If you are fused, and let me draw something here. If this is the system, and this is the ego mass of all the values and all the stuff that's going on, if this is what it is, then the people who live in this are undifferentiated. They are part of this ego mass. They are not over here differentiated, separate from that circle. That's not where that person is with his own healthy boundaries. He's simply not there. A person who has healthy boundaries feel what they feel, and they know what they know. Part of the codependency is coming out of this system. We got codependency up here. But codependent is just what it means. It's codependent with somebody else. A codependent person doesn't know their own feelings. They don't have their own boundaries. They're deficient in this area. They don't know where their feelings stops and where their kids' feeling starts. They can't differentiate between their own feelings and their intellectual processes, and they can't differentiate between you and their feelings. And they feel codependent. They feel that they've got to rescue the world. Okay, so part of this ego mass, then, is introjected by each of these individuals, and then they believe what the system tells them to believe. And then they project this from generation to generation to generation. Let's talk about my grandpa and my grandma and show you how this is passed on. And we'll talk about how this dysfunction really takes place. Andrew was from the South. My mother's family comes from the North. My father's family comes from the South. And so they were not real well-to-do. But he did love the corn squeezins. And there wasn't a lot to do then, so he drank. And there were girls at home and boys at home. And those girls were taken into the field to pick cotton and to do stuff in the field that the hands were and that the sons were. And those women worked like mules. They worked just like the men. Now, my grandma is Carrie. And so Carrie grew up with a father that was an alcoholic and a rager. Now, people rage and they have addictions because these things mood alter them. All right, so Andrew drank. And the girls would come back, and after they had worked all day in the fields, the boys laid around, and guess what the girls did? They cooked the dinner, and they did all the housework, because that's what work? Girls' work. Now, I guess fields, out in the field picking cotton and milking cows and all, that's girls' work too. They didn't differentiate. They kind of had a confusion around that issue. Then Grandpa would come back and drink, and he would make Grandma, rub his feet because they were sore. And after she had done that, she just waited on these men. The women waited on these men after working in the fields all day, side by side. Now, this is Grandma's truth. This is from Grandma's mouth. And this is how she felt. Now, what really happened, does it even matter? No, it matters how she perceives it and how she feels about it. All right, so Grandpa was abusive to Grandma in Grandma's eyes. And he felt that it was his duty as head of the home to whip those kids so they don't become real mean and ornery. All right? And so he was very, very abusive. Now, Carrie hated this. Now, he was an alcoholic and a rager. Now, Carrie decided, I'm never going to drink. That's terrible. So she got religion. That is absolutely terrible. And she never drank. But she married a church guy, and they had some children. And when she would start talking and start getting up and start getting wild, he'd say, now, Carrie, now, Mama, and he'd just shut her down. When he died some 40 years ago, we didn't have that governor on the accelerator, and Grandma took off. Man, she had all that energy and nobody to check her. And she became the matriarch. What she said in the home went. If you went against her or disagreed with what she believed with or didn't believe exactly what she believed, do you see the ego mass here? See this coming down? See this big, sick ego mass, the family ego mass, the standards. And it was her duty, her sacred religious duty to save everybody, whether you wanted it or not. And anybody who didn't go along with this thing was just assassinated. So some of the kids just buckled under and did exactly what Mama said. A couple other kids, my dad for one was the black sheep. And so he became an alcoholic. The oldest son became an alcoholic. The one daughter had 5 marriages. And the other 2 were very, very quiet and did exactly as they were told. They had personalities just like their father. And they did exactly what they were told. So they were the good kids, and the other kids were the bad kids. But we got beat up really bad.